weeks, and I'm very, very excited to have this conversation with you. Your book, Build Real Estate Wealth, was recommended to me by somebody else, a mutual friend of ours. And I read your book, and Joel, I was like looking behind me to see if you were like step by step recording the adventures of my life for the last 20 years, the real estate journeys and mistakes that I had made. And Joel comes from a great background to write this book. And for our discussion today, he's got a bachelor's in accounting. He's been investing in real estate. Joel, did I read since 1978?
Yeah, I'm in my 48th year as a landlord.
48th year as a landlord. He served in both the public and the private sector. He teaches classes on landlord and tenant relationship. Your book has an incredible chapter on how to work with tenants. And so we'll probably touch on that. But I know you've bought and flipped over 100 homes, Joel.
Yeah.
I know you're a real estate investor at the core. But what I love about your story is that you actually did this, or at least part of it, you did it part-time. And that's why you wrote the book, because you were a disc jockey for 35 years and you did real estate kind of part-time, and it just grew and grew and grew. Tell us that story, Joel, and welcome to the call.
Well, thank you, Rick. It's my pleasure. I've been looking forward to this. And what you're referring to is the two things that really happened to me in junior high that set me on a course of life, really. The first thing was that some investor built four-unit townhouses on my paper route and in junior high. And I got those tenants all as customers on my route, of course, but I have a distinct memory of in about 8th grade in my bedroom kind of doing the math on what this whole rental property thing was all about. I mean, we all lived in single family homes with our parents, and these were at the edge of our subdivision on some lots that hadn't been built on. And I said, well, so those people don't own that, and they get money, they have to pay money each month to whoever does. And yeah, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. You all know how it works, but it was just sort of a rudimentary understanding of that. And I said, I think I want to do that. And I kind of put that in my back pocket and set a course toward being able to buy my first rental property whenever I could. The other thing that happened was one of the older kids in the neighborhood built a pirate radio station in their basement and had an antenna and a flagpole in the backyard. And I got to hang out there. And that was when I made a decision I wanted to be a disc jockey. So I actually did radio production in high school and then made sure I went to a college that had a really good accounting program, because that is what I wanted to study, because you can use that no matter what industry you go into. And about halfway through college, I was at Grove City College, which is between here and Pittsburgh. I'm in Erie, Pennsylvania, by the way, between Buffalo and Cleveland, halfway along the lake there. And the radio, one of the radio stations that knew about me from my production work that I'd been doing in high school, hired me to be their weekend guy. So I came back and I finished out college here in Erie. And by the time I was about ready to graduate, about 2 months before, that job went full time. And so for the first time, I was able to, without me not being the weekend guy, go out and do the mobile DJ appearances that the kids were calling for. And so I basically pioneered the mobile DJ business in this part of the country. I did 5,051 appearances over 35 years. I retired from that in 2011. But to rewind a little bit, my first appearance was 49 years ago last week, actually. And it was, I graduated from college in 76 and started my accounting practice and bought my first rental property in January of 1978. And I still own it. It's a cash cow. So I was just at it the other day, as a matter of fact. And
you're one of 5 people we've interviewed, and I think every one of them own their very first rental property. Now yours might go back the furthest.
Yeah, it's a thing. You kind of,
it almost becomes, you do exactly what you tell people not to do. You become sentimental about a rental property. Your first one, it's your baby.
Well, I can tell you, Rick, I would not be sentimental if it was a winter,
Yes.
But it's a very profitable property.
And
so to your point, one of the premises of my book, Build Real Estate Wealth, and the subtitle is Enjoy the Journey of Rental Property Investment, is about the fact that real estate investing does not have to be an either or thing. You
Yeah.
can add real estate to your otherwise busy life. If you have something that you're passionate about, like I was passionate about my DJ career, that's what I wanted to do. I probably would have been further ahead if I'd have tried to bail from that as soon as possible and invest more. But I wanted to be an entertainer, So a lot of people are involved with jobs or careers or hobbies or something that takes up a lot of their time, but they realize that they want to do something to add a little income along the way and bolster their retirement when it's all over. So,
And Joel, that's one of the things I really liked about your book, because I was thinking of all the people that I know that do not believe investing in real estate part-time is
mhm,
possible. And your story, your life story proves that very much you can invest in real estate. And your accounting background
mhm,
not only tells you why you ought to do it or what you ought to do, but like you get into the house. I mean, you are very detailed in your book, how to vet a tenant, how to market a property, how to find team members. Like you get into all those details, which I
mhm.
want to cover with you. One of the details that you use an acronym, and for those who know me, know I love my acronym. So this stood out to me. You,
That's why you pointed this one out.
well, it is why I wanted this.
Mhm.
Maybe it's a kind of a personal preference. And you describe an acronym about finding ideal properties. Ideal
Mhm.
properties. What do you mean by ideal properties?
Well, actually, the acronym refers to real estate investing in general because it is an acronym standing for ideal is that I'm gonna make sure I get it, you got income
Yeah,
and of course we're talking about investment property, and
right.
you've got D for depreciation, E for equity growth, A for appreciation over time, and
Yeah,
L for leverage. I mean, this whole business runs on OPM, other people's money, and leverage. And so I make the point that because the book is written for people that are already established and have a portfolio and are looking for some game-changing information that kind of they want to supercharge what they've got, but it's also written for the people that are just starting or who don't even believe that real estate is for them.
yeah,
And so, uh, to your point, yeah, that's why it's detailed, is because that's how you overcome fear is through knowledge. And if you have the knowledge, then suddenly the objections for non-investing in real estate disappear. Like your fear of the thinking it's all about bad tenants and broken toilets and all that, and the fear of losing money, or the fear that you don't have the money to do the investing. And I cover all that. In fact, the book doesn't start with, okay, you've got some rental property, here's how to operate. This book starts with your mindset,
yeah.
and then about entity formation, so that you've got your entity going before you even start making offers. And then it moves into all the stuff about um, finding, negotiating, and financing deals and preparing a property for somebody to live there. Tax implications. Then it starts going past the property
Yep.
operation into operating your office, how to do that, and the tax implications of rental real estate, and understanding the differences between riches and wealth. There's a lot of philosophical stuff at the end about that, and best practices for keeping calamity out of your life. I'm all about keeping calamity out of your life.
Yeah. Minimize
Um,
risk.
so
And I got some specific questions on that
yeah,
for you, Joel. But you talked about mindset and you described that in your book, it's not about building wealth fast. It's about building it slowly,
yeah,
because slow wealth tends to be wealth that sticks around. And
hmm,
fast wealth or fast riches tends to disappear quickly. And you describe, Joel, in your book that the two most important, and I'll call them relationships that you need, are selecting the right team members and
hmm,
selecting the right tenants. Like
hmm.
these are the two most important skills. Give us some insight of what you mean by that.
Well, when we teach the landlord 101 class, and I'm done talking all about tenant selection, tenant screening, and all that, I have a little essay that I I read to all the kids, didn't mean to say kids, all the investors in the class, that basically says that your ability to select tenants is in direct relation to how good of a time you're going to have in this business, because you could be good at finding deals, financing deals, working on property, all that other stuff that's involved with this business. But if you're not good at selecting the people that are going to use your asset that is worth tens of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars for an extended period of time without your direct supervision, then you are not going to have a good time in the big picture. And what's going to happen is you're going to end up getting frustrated, and then you'll be selling your property to me or some other investor that is totally willing to jump in and solve the problems, and you'll be selling it at what I call a don't want her price.
Yeah,
You
that's
know, I
right.
just want out. I don't want it. You know, and then that's a bargain. So, and of course, your team members are very important. You know, I simplify the whole rental property business just by saying that, you know, I'm just looking at my page here. It says, find a way to acquire property that other people will use. Let the people use it, buy it for you with their payments, which are greater than your expenses.
Yeah.
Put up with minor irritations from the people and the maintenance issues along the way while you enjoy the cash flow and the equity growth. And step 4 is repeat steps 1 through 3. You know, but the team members are you know, very important, because you can't know how to do everything yourself, or even like to do everything yourself, or have the time to do everything yourself. So, you know, I actually, you know, on page, what is it, 19 in my book, I'm talking about the team members. The first one, a good realtor who understands investment property, which is part of the reason why I'm on this program, is because Rick wants you guys to know about the book, because if you, as realtors, and that's your primary thing, you may not also be an investor, although I would recommend you give it a try, but you can expand your business by dealing with investors if
Yeah.
you're knowledgeable in what and how it works, so that you can recognize the type of property that would be attractive to an investor. And let's face it, investors are repeat customers. You know, I've used one realtor for my whole career. She has sold every property that I've sold since she became a realtor in about 1991.
I'm gonna
Now,
put you on the spot, Joe. What do you think the value of that relationship to that realtor is by knowing you?
well, I'm sure that it contributed significantly to her income, obviously, and uh, it was such. I'll tell you, the relationship goes back to, we knew each other at church camp in junior high, and then she owned a bridal shop while I was a DJ, and we were doing bridal shows together, you know. And then she became a realtor, and uh, I happened to have a property that we needed to sell at that time, and she sold it, and I've never used another realtor since.
Yeah.
I continued on the DJ business still after she became a realtor, but her bridal shop was long gone, you know. And so that's a valuable relationship. And you know, I'm when I talk to groups around here, they've gotten to know that at some point I'm going to break into what I'm going to tell you right now. I'm well known for this, and that is that I make the statement that if I had a choice of losing all my money or losing all my relationships, I would lose all my money in a heartbeat,
Yeah.
because my relationships will help me get my money back. And if I had a pile of money and no relationships to share it with, that's empty. That's not success. What good is that? You know? And so I conclude by saying, don't make a withdrawal from a good relationship just to make a deposit in your bank.
I love that. I was listening to Brian Buffini just a few hours ago, Joel, and Brian said, who many of these real estate professionals know, he said, I would never want to lose it all, but if I lost everything that I've accumulated in 40 years of investing in real estate, I could gain it all back because it's
Yeah.
inside of me. I know it. I've lived it. I've breathed it. It's advanced me to the person that I am today. And if I lost it all, I could build it back. But what you're saying is with relationships, that's not always true. You lose a relationship with one of your kids or your
Right.
spouse or a family member as a result of being so driven to buy real estate. What a mistake that is. And you make this statement, Joel, in your book, and I just thought I loved it. Matter of fact, it was like the paragraph that was sent to me to read your book. And you said there's a huge difference between accumulating money and being wealthy. Above
There's
all,
a huge difference between riches and wealth, right? Yeah.
above all, you said never
Yeah.
pursue at the expense of your health, your peace of mind, your loving relationships, and enjoying personal activities.
Mhm.
Just touch on that one more time, Joel, and I got a couple more questions for you. But I think that that's critical when it comes to how we put these things into perspective. You're dealing with a bunch of driven people. We've had investors on our call for the last couple of months, and there is a balance that's necessary in order to really have a successful life.
Right. Well, you can replace things, but you can't replace people. You can't just say, well, I lost all those relationships and I have all my money. I think I'll go out and buy some new relationships. It just doesn't, work that way. But there's a part in the chapter that you're referring to about, it's called The Impact of Wealth is the name of the chapter, that I quote a guy named Jeff Pizzino, who
Yeah.
I did not know until I had to contact him for permission to use his quotes in the book. But I knew of him because we were both contributing to the same real estate magazine back in the 90s. And I had saved one of his articles from the 90s. And he had written an article called The 10 Myths About Wealth. And I really liked myth myth number, where is it? Myth number 6 and myth number 7. Myth number 6 is being wealthy is all about material possessions. I think we've kind of covered that a little bit. It's just there's a huge difference between riches and wealth. It's like the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is you know the facts, and wisdom is you know how to apply the facts and do good. Because some people have a lot of knowledge and they still make dumb decisions, and some people can make really good decisions without a whole lot of facts. It's kind of like also talent and skill. You might be born with talent, but you have to develop the skill. It's a different thing. So with wealth, uh, you there's a huge difference between accumulating money and being wealthy, like we've talked about. And money is a means of creating wealth. Wealth is a means of creating a great life. But personal joy must be cultivated along the way. That's Jeff's words. And myth number 7 is called the acquisition of wealth is a win/lose game. That's a myth. It doesn't have to be that somebody has to lose in order for you to win.
Right.
You're realtors. I think you understand that the best deals are when you put together win, 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 win deals. Like the buyer wins, the seller wins, the realtor wins, the neighborhood wins. When somebody's going to fix up a property, the bank may be winning because they finally sold a property out of their REO department. It's all a win. And you just don't have to make it so that somebody loses for you to win. And you're not becoming rich will benefit no one. But you becoming rich benefits others in an abundance of ways. This is from his quote, and because the wealthy people, wealthy people don't hoard money. They don't like, okay, let's put it all on a mattress and we've got it, and nobody else can use it or get it, or we won't do anything with it. If you want to be wealthy, you keep the money circulating through not only things that create jobs or investments or things like that, but also through doing good with contributions to your community. And it's a circular thing. What goes around comes around, and just hoarding it. And it's, what I say is that, like, some people are afraid to accumulate too much money, but the point is that that doesn't really help anybody. You're not becoming rich. Does does not benefit anybody. So,
Joel,
but
let me land the plane with this
okay,
because you gave me the perfect softball.
okay,
And it's your quote. It's at the very end of your book. And you said, I will conclude by encouraging you to use your ability to handle your personal and business wealth to create cash. Use your cash to create wealth. Use your wealth to create a great life. Find joy in your great life. Share your joy in your relationships. Your relationships will help you create more cash and the cycle will start again.
yeah,
And you talked about it's beyond money, it's beyond it also involves your time. And something that this group probably doesn't know is we have a mutual passion, and that's of royal family kids. And you were a camp director, Joel, for many years. And to me, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this interview with you is because it epitomized to me, it was an example to me of someone who spent their life building wealth, investing in real estate, and was able to turn their focus to homeless kids in your community to make a difference. And that wealth you created leveraged you to be able to do that and more. Tell us about your experience with Royal Family. Royal Family needs no introduction around this group.
I
Joel,
understand
know
that.
it well, but tell us your experience of Royal Family and how you got involved with it.
Well, Wayne came to our church one time, many, many years ago, 20 some years ago, and gave a speech about royal family. And I said, I can't not do that.
Yeah,
Some time went by until we got a particular youth pastor who had done a royal family camp in another state. And when he was hired, he came with the contingency that once he got his feet on the ground, that he would be permitted to start a royal family kids camp. And when he did, he asked me to be the assistant director along with my wife. And so for the first 5 years we had the camp starting in '05, I was the assistant. And then I went to pass the scepter training under Jeff Jahala
yep.
and Glenn Garvin and in California. And then I led our camp for 8 years as a director in 2010 through 2017. And then I went 1 year after that for a transition year for the next director. And since then, I have also been involved with the home office doing visits to camps. And I wrote some material for them to use for teaching fundraising and starting new camps. I provided them with some course material for that sort of thing. And it was all steps along the way that by the time I was thinking about this book when everybody had a lot of time on their hands in 2020 on COVID, during COVID. I made notes for about a year on what I wanted to write about, and then I wrote for 2 years, and then I spent a year in production, and now I'm spending time trying to promote the book. But I would want you to know that what's in there. First of all, I have who's now a 19-year-old son. He graduated from high school last June. While he was 18, he bought his first rental property about a week after he graduated from high school.
Love that.
We are waiting for a clear to close as we speak for his second property that he may close on this week. But he had, as this book was being written, finally was indicating that this is what he wanted to do as well. And by the way, he was at that camp every year too. My wife was pregnant first year. So he was there the whole time. But I wrote the book as though he would be the only one that would read it.
Yeah.
There's nothing in there that I haven't done, that I wouldn't do myself, or that I wouldn't tell my kid to do. It's not written as though I believed that the whole audience was anonymous and that I would never meet them and they would never hold me accountable.
Yeah.
It's written because the person who will hold me accountable to anything in there is down the hall.
Yeah.
So,
Joel, I love that story. I bet on a bunch of these real estate podcasts. It's not nearly as emotional as what it is today, but your story is inspiring. And for those who are wondering, and I see the comments, no, I am not Joel's son, by the way. That is not me. He Um, and Joel, you've done it. You've raised up a child in the way they should go. Joel, you've done it. You've given an inheritance to your children's children, right? And not a financial inheritance, but an inheritance of wisdom and understanding and how to invest in real estate. And then you've created something that we get to share with our clients to say, look, you can do this part-time. Like you can, we're going to give away your book in just a few minutes. And I encourage everyone to buy the book. I encourage you to buy 2 copies of it. One for you to read, because Joel is an accountant by nature. And so he crosses the T's and dots the I's in every chapter of the book. So it's very thorough, very step-by-step, very logical. But I also love it because, Joel, you give it, I'd want to give it away to my clients, just like I'm giving it away to our team members today, because I'd want them to read something, maybe that's a third party that says, you can do this even though you're working full time, or you're doing this, or you're doing that, or you're a student. To hear your son investing in real estate at 19, man, that's awesome. I love that. And every person I talk to, they say, I wish I would have just started earlier.